going to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance. If we can all please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So our good news portion of the night is going to be our community learning connections. Start off. Yeah, Cindy, come on up.
Need a mic, you can take one of ours up here.
Oh, I got it now.
All right, perfect. Everybody can hear me? My name is Cindy Hook. I am the site manager at Compass Learning Center, and I am pitch hitting for Heather Perez, who is our ED, but she is up at Central Michigan. Her son is having his first wrestling meet, so she is up there supporting him. And she gave me what I'm supposed to say to you guys, so I'm just going to tell her this is what Heather would say. But anyways, this is Community Learning Connections, or the nonprofit formerly known as Communities in School of the Tecumseh area. This is our 25th year of serving TPS students. We'd like to thank TPS for their partnership in identifying students' needs, in providing in-kind support, and helping reduce the costs and make our programming successful. Now, CLC has secured $35,242 in grant revenues, and of which most of it is restricted, which means it doesn't come back to us. So these are some of the programs that we have started with this grant money. One of them is ROCKS, Ruling Our Experiences. Now this is a girls' empowerment program, and we had 45 girls graduate last year. And that brings to a total of 265 girls that have gone through the program in the last 4 years. This week at Compass, we'll start a 5th and a 6th grade program, so that will bring 30 more girls into the ROCKS group. And we are also starting at the high school an alumni ROCKS program. We have the Learning Garden at Compass, which Mr. Bundes has been working with, and there were new panels bought for the greenhouse. We have sources of change here at the high school and at East and West, where over 90 peers and 15 adult leaders were trained to address growing concerns of anxiety and depression in youth. This year we have over 80 Friday food packs that go out every week to our students, and we had 13 families receive supplemental food through Bountiful Summer Read and Feed. We have a grant that helps our Fuel Up to Play 60 program at Compass and Steam East. We have a cooking nutrition class at East and West, and also a Healthy Kids Club. We have Make a Difference Club at Compass, which is community service projects, which last year that included they made dog treats and toys for the Humane Society and blankets for the homeless. We gave out a $1,000 scholarship to a senior last year. He was recognized for his service to the community. Last year we also had, the last 3 years, we've had 30 parents that have graduated from our Getting Ahead Financial Stability class, and over 60 students that have been supported through the family nights. And we are also providing, the grant money is also providing mindfulness training for all TPS counselors and CLC staff, which today was our first day, and tomorrow we will go back, some of the counselors and CLC staff, to continue that traiing. Lisa's shaking her head, yes. We have also provided basic need items through all 6 buildings, which includes clothing, shoes, boots, eye exams, and glasses. There are 20 students involved in Voices for Change, which is working on positive change projects in the school and community. We've had over 30 students participate in our junior SAD, that's at East and West, and we have 24 kids, 5th and 6th graders, that are participating in our Builders Club, which this week we are working on our Make a Difference program, where we go out into the community and we rake the yards of people that can't rake it themselves. So CLC has facilitated Motor Moms and Dads, 2nd grade community walk, T-Town Safety, Mayhem, and much, much more. So through all these programs, we have coordinated over 1,000 volunteers who provide over 7,200 hours of service, valued at approximately $154,820 in service. And that's $20 an hour used as the industry standard to calculate service value. So each of us, there are, I like to say one of me, but not really one of me, but there are site coordinators in the buildings, and we have a graduation coach here at the high school, and through the 18-19 school year, we have case managed a total of 462 students. That's 177 at Compass, 108 at THS, 40 at West, 105 at East, 15 at North, 17 at South. So that's 99% of all TPS students are served by one or more of the CLC programs and services. So how do we raise money for all these things we do? Well, our main fundraiser is the Mingle, and last year we raised over $55,000. And we'd like to thank the TPS board for past support and generous in-kind use of the Tecumseh High School cafetorium for the March Mingle over the last 3 years. It is our hope to use the facility again for our event on March 21st of 2020. And this year's theme is Hollywood Nights, a red carpet event. So having the event at TPS has been paramount in reducing the cost of the event so that more dollars are able to provide CLC services and programs. The Mingle is our largest fundraiser of the year. We recognize the responsibility of hosting this event at TPS and have put in systems in place to minimize incidents and risk. So we have purchased permission from local law enforcement and liquor license through the state of Michigan, as well as a bond. CLC purchased additional special event and liquor liability insurance from Sunderland Insurance, and TPS is named as additionally insured. CLC worked with Danley's Country House to provide beer and wine, and they provide trained bar staff, and bartenders must have the TAM card, to serve beer and wine during the event. So we also provide free shuttle service during the event for any patrons in need of a ride. And the one last bragging thing we'd like to say is CLC now is one of the 3 finalists in the Making a Difference category for the Tecumseh Chamber of Commerce, and that's the Tecumseh Tribute Award, and that will be named, I think, on 8. So we're pretty proud of ourselves to be considered one of the Make a Difference nonprofits. Any questions?
How many people come to March Mingle?
Oh, 220. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that'll bring us to our first public comment portion. It's on agenda items only. So if you have something that you want to speak about it's on the agenda, please come forward, state your name. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Okay, moving forward. Any revisions or approval of the agenda?
Just want to mention, we had expected for good news tonight to be celebrating the Coach of the Year. That gentleman was not available this evening, so we haven't ignored it. It's just going to have to happen at a future date. That was one of the items that was expected to be done tonight. The other thing is we had been expecting to take action on the purchase of multi-passenger vans. We've sort of tabled that until the next meeting. We want to get more information because First Student has alerted us to the fact that they could possibly provide those for us through our contract, but Nikki needs to get more information before we bring it to the board. With the fall season ending, it's not really time critical that we make a decision tonight, so we're going to put that off for at least a couple of weeks to get you some more information. So those 2 items were supposed to be on the agenda, but are not.
And then will they go back on for discussion? Because we'll be getting more information.
Because it'll be a little bit
Yeah,
different
not
issue.
action.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
first scheduled report, Mr. Gibson, the Sea Perch Program.
Good evening, Mr. Keyser and myself would like to share information with you about our sea perch underwater aquatics. Last year, I believe it was last spring, my wife asked me, and she, by the way, she was a secretary at high school, she asked me if I wanted to go and be a judge at an underwater robotics competition. For the first time in my life, I said, no. I said, no, I don't want to do it. And then she happened to say, there's going to be a team from Tecumseh here. And as soon as she said that, I said, okay, I'm in. So decided to go there and see what this was all about. She informs me that Paul here is going to have a team. I'm like, okay, I'm looking forward to it. Now, those of you who know me, it's like, I'm not very techy yet. I'm not necessarily a robotics person, but I'll go along. And when I got there and I saw Paul and his team in action, I was hooked. I was like, wow, this is really, really impressive, based on the great job that he was doing with last year's kids. So I thought to myself, if I ever had the opportunity, if something ever comes along, I'd like to do this someday. Well, at the STEAM centers, about a month ago, we decided to have, like every other Friday, an hour and a half of time built into the schedule where we can do some different activities with our students. And I thought, an hour and a half every other Friday, underwater robotics club. This will be great. So I did a little bit of research and, looking at some different things, came up with an idea, and Paul and I discussed it. We thought this would be the perfect opportunity to utilize that time to do this. And I know that right now he has a little video that he wants to show you from last year, and I'll resume a little bit.
This is just a little snippet of our day that we had up at the University of Michigan's pool, where after building our robot, we got to go and compete against, there were a large number of schools there, which we actually did very well. One of the different competition areas, we thought we were going to finish third, and we got edged out because there were two teams that had yet to go. After they had told us we were third, we were all excited we were going to get the trophy, and so. Yeah, there's
As we're working on that, I know.
hard to see because robot in the water is just trying to go through hoops.
But you guys
Being
are under
driven
it.
by the students.
Come on this way, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. This way, this way. That's fine.
Tell them what to do, guys, tell them what to do.
I go down. Go down more. Go down. Good.
You're there, go. Stay, yeah, stay to the right of that thing this time.
Go up. Thank you.
Perfect. Now go up and walk that way when you go out. You just back, so you don't, there you go, yeah. Good, go, Justin, go down. So touch that post and then drop that magnet. Touch it, good, now drop the magnet, back up fast, back up. Doesn't matter which part you hit it with, dude. There you go. Perfect. I'll push it open. Open it. Back it up. There you go. Good, down. Nope, back up. Just go past. Do it down. There you go. Down. Over down. Good. You're doing great, Justin. Keep it going. Keep going down, dude. Keep going down. Don't stop going down. Just push it. This is fine, too. There you go. There you go. Got it.
Paul was the most fun.
Those of my three guys who built the robot, maneuvered the robot, and they just did an excellent job, and we had a lot of fun in the process. We learned a lot.
So, this is some information here where it kind of explains all the science standards that are covered in this process. There's a little bit of a cost summary, like how much the kits cost and the tool bags. And you can see how we're able to control cost, etc. But right now, I'm not for sure how many, students Paul has in his class, but there's like 15 in my class, so I know like 3 kits would occupy all 15 students. And like I said, we go to the University of Michigan, you compete there. And if you actually place first, I think you get to go on to a national tournament, that's in Maryland. And also looking at designing the course, if there were some people that were still interested in underwater robotics and they didn't have the kit, we could still have them build a course and occupy some time there. But we just wanted you guys to be aware, those are some of the things that we're doing, like I said, an hour and a half every other Friday, offering some great clubs.
And it was amazing to watch these 3 kids because they had to design it. Well, we bought a kit. So they built the kit, they had to read all the directions, they had to figure out which tools to use. They actually had to solder the wires for the remote control, they built the remote control. We wound up practicing over at our pool twice before the competition just to make sure it was running. We had a problem with one of our propellers. The kid's like, but it looks like it's sticking, so what if we twist it? And he figured out that part of the glue we had used had actually stuck to part of the propeller, and he freed it up. We had to figure out ballast and weight so that it would sink well, and then be able to pop up quickly because at the end of the competition needs to be at the top and touch the wall. And they learned how to do all those things. What we would like to do for next year is really get them into the design process where they actually design their own underwater robot, where they have to lay out schematics and learn how to draw diagrams and how to measure everything. And that's part of the competition that we didn't compete in this first year because we were kind of overwhelmed just trying to get the thing built and to make it run. But they did exceptionally well.
And each year the competition is different. Like this year, I see where they have to pick up trash on top of the water with it. So like I said, each year it's different. You can take those apart. You can reuse them. The toolkit's good. So it's, there's an initial cost, but afterwards you can reuse them.
Thank you.
Thank you for it.
They're reusable?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, next up is department head reports. Are they
I
all
think
here?
I'll kick us off.
Okay.
That's good.
Yep.
Gibby, I saw how you did that sea perch. I got hooked on it. That was really good. So I'm just going to give you guys just a couple nuggets from the high school, and then I'm going to introduce 2 of our department heads and turn it over to them. Back in February, March, we started talking cell phone policy. We started talking tardies. I just want you guys to know our building, our kids, our teachers are doing absolutely wonderful. I'm really, really proud of how they have adjusted and gone with it. About 850 kids in the high school. I'm going phone tonight, so it's a little bit different. About 850 kids in the high school, plus about another, 70 or so kids that are seat time waiver. So numbers for cell phone. Out of 850 kids, right now, going into week 9, we have 103 students that had 1 or more violations. We had 32 students with 2 or more cell phone violations. And we had 13 students with 3 or more violations, which just shows you, the kids have done a great job, and our teachers have done a great job enforcing it. With tardies, we have 230 students with at least 1 tardy. Our kids get 6 minutes in between classes to get to class. We have 110 students with 2 or more tardies. We have 65 students with 3 or more, 38 with 4 or more. And at 4, you start getting Saturday schools, and we've implemented Saturday schools just to kind of help as a reinforcement. Hopefully by the 3rd tardy, if they get a 3rd tardy, our counselors can meet with them. But understand, a student, we have 6 classes. In one day, they could have 6 tardies if they were tardy to all classes. So that just kind of gives you an idea. I can go all the way down to 9 students with 8 or more tardies, and that pretty much tops it out. This all will reset at semester, at the end of the semester in January. This will reset, and we'll go from there. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you.
Can I ask one question?
Yes,
At
ma'am.
what point do they go see the counselor? After,
Third tardy.
so before they have,
Well, hopefully, but remember, they get them all in one day.
Yeah,
They-
right.
so that's the part that gets a little bit tricky. But parents have been supportive, kids have been supportive. Something else that I do here in the high school, I started it 2 years ago. I'll get all of our student leaders, student council, like the officers, the class officers. I'll get a group of about 30 kids in here, and we meet once a month, and we circle up, and basically, it's turned into an environment where they talk to me, and they let me know what's going on. So I'll listen to them, and I'll bounce some ideas off of them. This last meeting I had, I asked them, I said, what do you enjoy about the high school? Like, what's good right now? First thing that came out was, we really like all the AP offerings. Like that, they liked that. It was kind of a point of pride for them. They liked that. Next thing they liked was flex. And then they also gave us some suggestions in terms of how to improve that last 45 minutes that we use. So I talked to the staff on Wednesday and shared some of those things with them. Believe it or not, most of them like the cell phone policy. And not just those kids, other kids have just said, I didn't like it at first, but it's not as much of a distraction. We don't see ourselves looking at our phone and doing those things. And you guys, there's no policy that we can ever come up with that's perfect, but it's working pretty well. I'm talking to the other principals, talking to other people outside of our district. They're doing similar things, and they're seeing some of the same results. So that's a good piece. Last thing, and this is a little bit of Devin's baby, but Devin, I threw it out there just to kind of test the waters a little bit. Talk to him about having a radio station here. And we have all the capabilities to possibly do that. And Devin, at another further time, maybe we can talk more about that. The kids love that idea. A lot of our kids will listen, whether it's home or here, to music when they're doing independent practice, and just to kind of let them focus, let them relax, focus on their work. And we have to be really careful with that piece. And it's been kind of a point of contention with them. So this is a thought that Devin had, where we can make sure they're not listening to like country music. No, I'm kidding. Music that may not be appropriate. So that's pretty much the part I wanted to share. This last Friday we had PD, and I thought we had a really good day for our building in terms of PD. The one thing we're starting to really talk about here, 10th year as principal, is increasing the rigor. And if I won't take the time, if I ask each one of you what rigor was, all 10 of you, or all 7, 8, 9, even Terry, you guys would all have a different idea of what that was. So Jake did a great job leading our staff through that. I had the LISD, we met with the special education department, and we spent 2.5 hours working with that, and then our math department. They did some things in English department as well separately. So proud of our department chairs, proud of our kids in the building, proud of our staff. I want to introduce both these guys first, and then I'll let them take over. Parker Gadwa, he is our English department chair, also our Mandarin Chinese teacher, and Will Ramsey, you guys know Will, he's our math teacher. So you guys come up, whoever wants to come up first and share your part.
It was a team.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I'm thankful to be here, and I'm very honored to work with such great colleagues. And I don't think it's every day that you get to kind of brag on the people that you work with and say how wonderful they are, and I'm glad for the opportunity to do that. So we, in the English department, great group of colleagues. We had a really good productive discussion on Friday during the professional development. And in that conversation about rigor, we decided that we were kind of like ahead in that process. We were given some opportunity last year to start that discussion and figure out what our definitions were of that and what that looks like for our grading processes. And so what we realized was that we needed to come up with a really consistent format for assessments, and we needed to do what's called vertical and horizontal articulation with our curriculum, which means that students are basically guaranteed consistent curriculum and consistent assessment as they progress from 9th to 12th grade, and then also across teachers if multiple teachers teach the same year. So we realized that one of the areas that we could focus on was student writing, And kind of part of that brainstorm session was considering that if we take some of the guesswork out of assessing student writing, that there would be less subjectivity to that and just more consistency overall. And so part of that was deciding that we should have at least 3 core tasks that are aligned to the state standards that are consistent each year that we grade. So 3 core writing tasks that are consistent throughout the year, throughout their high school years. And that we all develop common rubrics for that. So it seems like an obvious thing at first, but it's actually really meticulous work because different teachers might look at a category or rubric and decide that the language, they might interpret the language of what that rubric requires in a different way. And so I think part of our next challenge is going to be coming up with those rubrics and then deciding on essentially what is it that we are grading, what is it that we need to focus on for the skills that the students need to have. And so I guess like the proof of that task, that if we've accomplished that, one of the activities that we plan on doing is having an example of maybe 2 or 3 student papers, and using those rubrics, we can all grade them at the same time, and we know that we've got our job right if we all come up with the same grade or very close to the same grade. So that's part of what we're doing now, and then in line with that too would be starting a digital portfolio, which the 9th grade teacher has agreed to do, where we can keep those examples in one place, and then we can basically track their progress over the course of their high school career. So I feel pretty fortunate position as the teacher of the seniors to see like what deficiencies they have, what skills they need, and it's pretty interesting because it's not like a very consistent thing across the board. It's usually the case where you have each student has their own area where they can improve on, and so just kind of categorizing those items, making sure that we address them year by year, so that it's not something that when they leave high school that they have a less chance of needing to address those deficits. So yeah, so we can track the progress over time, and then that also ensures consistency when, let's say, they graduate from 9th grade to 10th grade. We can take a look at some of their writing examples and just determine what they learned and what other skills that they need to work on. So that's kind of like what we're doing in a nutshell. If you had any questions on that?
It's mainly high school right now?
I'm sorry?
It's mainly high school right now?
Yes, so and that's a great
And
question.
then it will go
Right.
all the way in?
Yeah, we'd love to include the entire K through 12.
Okay.
And so,
Gotta start somewhere though.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, we're starting from the end product, right?
Right.
And so we want to make sure that if there's like a seal of approval, like a Tecumseh guarantee for when they leave high school, are they college and career ready? And so if we start there, then we can work with that. It's the plan.
Good.
Thank you.
I would like to say thank you for taking the time at the end of August to listen to the math department and allowing us the funds to move forward with Reveal and Alex. It's been doing a lot more good than you realize. I've asked Kristen Hess and Jan Gardner to be here because through this whole process we've been a team, so I feel like they need to be up here as I talk about Alex as well. I want to give you a snapshot of what the first month looked like. It was pretty rough. So for the 3 of us, it was pretty rough. Trying to make sure that we had all the books that we needed for 6th grade through Algebra 2. Creating accounts for all the students to use Reveal and the Alex program. Constant emails and phone calls back and forth with McGraw-Hill Tech Support, which I would say they were pretty fantastic with helping us, to set up the accounts for Reveal and Alex. Working with new curriculum and getting, until we had the proper training. Teachers took the risks, but it's paying off. Fast forward now 2 months. We had a full day of professional development with McGraw-Hill over Reveal. On Friday, at our professional development day, we had a half day of professional development with Alex. Scott Goddard, the representative from McGraw-Hill, also offered us more training, and he said he would come out during our conference to work with us free of cost to the district. So he is really trying to make sure that we feel comfortable with this program. I've been here 9 years, and I can say, standing here, I feel like we are finally getting back on track. We had quality training, and it was pretty fast. We are supporting one another through a lot of hard work. High school and middle school teachers working together. Even on Friday, during our PD, we came together and we worked through the questions that we had. Kids are generally excited about ALEX. They like to see that they are learning. The concepts that they are learning in ALEX are reinforcing missed concepts from previous courses and current concepts that they may need to review. Some students are progressing at a faster rate and are learning some concepts that I won't even cover until we get to it in February. In my own classroom, I have some kids who are not happy with where they started, but now they are continually working in ALEX and they're pushing themselves to grow in pre-calculus. I require 100 minutes a week using ALEX. I have some kids that are doing 3 to 4 hours or more in ALEX a week because they want to get their math skills to where they should be. Having a consistent program is critical, and now we have it, and I feel like everything is now starting to align like it's supposed to. 6th grade students love having a book that they can write in. It was awesome on Friday watching some of my peers get excited about ALEX and actually seeing what it can do from the teacher's perspective. During the summer, in one of our math meetings, Mr. Binzing, you were there and you asked, how are we going to be able to fill the gaps, the holes for this year? ALEX is doing it. I don't expect changes overnight, but in my own course, pre-calculus, I'm seeing students grow, and I'm very thankful for that. Knowing that specific content was covered in previous courses will help me. For example, logarithms was not covered in Eureka, but I know in Chapter 8 in this book that it will be covered. One of the possibilities of using ALEX for me, and I know some other teachers want to do it too, I would like to create weekly reviews for my pre-calculus students that spiral on past concepts and concepts that are on the SAT. I do this with my AP Calculus students, and it helps them retain the information. ALEX is going to help me with my pre-calc kids. In terms of the SAT, we have a plan. Currently, we're doing warm-ups, and our homework has a lot of SAT practice questions on it. Starting next week, we're going to utilize Flex for SAT prep for our juniors. English and math departments will be holding SAT sessions in Flex. All teachers in those departments will be participating. This will occur once a week up until exams in January. We will rotate. For example, starting next week, all the math teachers will have 30 or so kids in our Flex. We will go over strategies for the test, and then they will take the test, a practice test. The following week, week number 2, we will meet with those same kids. I will have the same 30. We will go over the test and talk about what they could have done to do better. Week 3 and 4, English department will be doing something very similar. Week 5 and 6 is back to math. Week 7 and 8, English again. Students will have 8 sessions. That's 4 math and 4 English before the final exams, and we will do something very similar to this during the second semester. Students who have PM VOTEC last year missed out when we did something similar to this. This year, some of my colleagues and I will be working with the PM VOTEC kids and giving them the same opportunities to be successful on the SAT. To do well on the SAT, students need exposure to practice tests, the academic language that's on the test, the rigor to the questions, understanding the questions, tips and tricks to certain questions, learning how to fill in the grid questions that are not multiple choice, how to tackle non-calculator questions, and doing the scary mental math without a calculator. All of these are necessary to do well on that test. With our Flex sessions, I think we're going to be able to help kids feel comfortable with the SAT. Future plans. Hopefully, we will be continuing our work with the middle school teachers and supporting one another, aligning our common assessments so that they are the same. For example, Algebra 1 in 8th grade should be taking the same midterm and final exam as the high school, and eventually we would like all assessments in Algebra 1 to be the same as well. We're working on that over the next year. Trying to figure out how to integrate ALEX in the future semesters over the years, what we can do differently. Right now, I think we are pretty happy with how things are going. It's overwhelming at times, but right now we're still trying to figure out what's best for our kids in terms of ALEX and using it. But I think right now we're doing pretty good, I feel like. And that's all I have for the high school. Questions?
And we'll take questions for any of the math programs. But he did a pretty good job. Excellent job.
How much improvement have you seen compared to prior years, or do you even have a way to look at that?
Right now it's kind of tough, but what I have seen this year, and I'm not trying to throw Eureka under the bus, but in the past, for example, Tom Bollinger always taught Algebra 2. I knew he covered that by several topics, and that's where Alex is coming in to help me fill the gap. That's what's pretty good with it right now.
And then they can,
Sorry, Sue.
oh, that's all right, they can really work at their own pace then, it sounds
Yes,
like.
like when they finish a homework assignment in class, they jump right onto Alex. Today I gave a test, after the test, they jumped onto Alex. So they're using it to fill the time that they have in class when they don't have anything to do, which is really nice too. It's very adaptive, yeah.
It's got the artificial intelligence component to it, so it's very individualized for each child.
And after our training on Friday, there were a couple of things we all needed to tweak, but probably needed a little more than that. So I looked at the kids and I said, I'm telling you, these are all new programs. I'm gonna make mistakes, I'm gonna be changing things, I'm gonna be trying things on you. They love it. So like I had to tweak a couple little accounts and maybe put some at a higher level, some at a lower level. And they're like, oh, that's nice. And the thing they like the most is those little happy messages. Like if they complete a task, the screen pops up, good job, you're on trial. So they smile and they're like, they're really positive. And it's not like huge, but they really like that. And the reveal program, what I like is because I'm in contact with Kristen and I'm in contact with the algebra teachers at the high school also. I know what's coming, so I can see exactly in her book, because I can just click on launch and say, oh, 6th grade, they're in module 2, let's see what they're covering. And I can see how their curriculum aligns with what I'm doing, what goes to the high school at algebra level. So it's so nice just to be able to see it, because like I'm stuck in the middle. So I like to know what's coming and what I have to have them prepared for. And having that program consistent across the board is wonderful, wonderful.
Now, as a parent, I got the email that, hey, your child is using Alex. Do you want to get reports? Of course I want to get reports. This is really cool. And I get a weekly update of what she's done in
And
Alex.
it's easy to use, so you just click on the link and it takes you right to it.
I didn't have to go find anything. It came to me. It was
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one of the things in the training, they kept saying, make sure to get 100 minutes, 100 minutes, 100 minutes. I've been pushing it, like the first week, there was some resistance, if I can put that nicely. 100 minutes, that's too much. Now they're used to, like, as soon as they're done with something, can we get on Alec? Sure, go ahead. I'm gonna get my 100 minutes in, go ahead. So they're getting used to it, I mean, just like we all are. I mean, it's a new program, but I think it's fabulous, both the reveal and the Alex go hand in hand together.
So glad to hear all of that. Thank you. Going
Very well.
And it's nice to have the textbook too, because I don't remember all this stuff. So it's nice to ask me a question. It shows you right there how to do it, you know, it's nice, so.
It is nice.
You know.
Yeah, and we're figuring out too, like, I don't know, every day I was like, okay, here, this is what I clicked on my end. Tell me what you guys see on your end. And so, like, now we're getting to the point where they're starting to figure out how, what I do my notes, how they can find it online if they forget their book. So, I mean, it's all a learning curve right now, but we're getting through it. It's getting easier. And every day, it's like, oh, here's another new thing we can try. Try this, try that, you know, that kind of thing. I really like it. And like, consistency with tests, I know right now that I'm talking with the high school algebra teachers, and they're like, okay, use reveal module 2 test form A. Okay, are you adding anything to it? Yeah, I'm gonna add a little more here. And I said, well, I'm gonna add a little more here. So our tests are all pretty much the same from 7th grade to high school in algebra. We're staying consistent with that just by using these programs. It makes it a whole lot easier, and I'm finding more time for me to be more creative in the classroom than trying to figure out, oh, I gotta put this together. It's taking that burden out of it and giving me some more creative time.
Another thing too about Alex that I really like, if I want to put problems, and say I assign 5 problems in Alex on solving equations, kids can go on, do those 5 problems. If they want more practice, they just keep clicking new problem, and it gives them the new problem. If they get stuck on it, it shows them exactly how to do it. They can see an example plus the worked out problem. I had a kid last Thursday who did about 15 of the same problems because they wanted to make sure they knew how to do limits before they took the test on it on Friday, and that was awesome. The kid did these extra problems without me having to assign it. And I can see that from my end on the computer. It's just amazing. And I mean that. Like, it's, wow, like they did the extra work. And it was really cool.
So you can see everything they do.
Yep, I can see how much time they spent on the question. I can see whether or not.
Whether they missed it, whether they looked at the explanation, explanation, whether they did 12 of them in a row in rapid succession. And we have a conversation about that. I noticed that you have 12 that you missed in a row. Should we go back and do some of those? And you click on it, and you can open it right up right there, and say, let's work our way through it. And then they go, oh, okay.
Or another part was to get their 100 minutes to sit at an idle screen and just move the mouse. They didn't realize that we can look at the time, how long they spent on one problem. Like if you spent 2 hours and 47 minutes on one problem, I'm thinking we probably should review that concept. So, we can see all of that across the board. And the other thing too, like, you'll walk around and somebody say, I didn't understand it. Well, did you hit that explanation button? What explanation? Well, if you hit that button, it shows you how to do it. I mean, it has everything built right into the program. So the kids are talking, it's fun to hear that kind of talk going on.
Well, plus we can add, if they're still confused, well, I looked at it, but it didn't mean anything to me. And then I go, hey, I'll help you out with this. And then they're like, well, why didn't it say that? And I'm like, well, because that's my job.
Yeah.
I apologize tonight for the lack of enthusiasm. I tried to get them pumped up for you guys, English too,
It's coming.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Science?
Oh, it was just those two.
Okay.
So, I think there'll probably be more later on. Mr. Zajac, athletic update?
So this is kind of an incomplete update of our fall sports. We still have sports going on. Our teams have not met with the league to go over all league or all state honors. So you guys have some of the stuff that we're going to show here. Volleyball is currently in second place in the SEC, 24-13-3, 10-4 in the SEC. Their districts are next week. They have a bye on Monday, so they play on Wednesday at Onset. Girls swim. They're currently in second place as well in the SEC. Has 85 record, currently ranked 6th in the state in Division II. We've got 4 individual and 3 relay teams that have qualified for the state championships meet, which is held at Oakland University on November 22nd and 23rd. Girls golf, they are finished. They are third in the conference, won the county tournament, Sophie Whelan earned all conference, so that sport is done. Boys tennis was 5-5, 4th place SC. It's the best place finish we've had since we started it about 3-4 years ago, so it's a fairly new team for us in recent history. Maury Schmidt, regional champ, all conference, admitted to the state tournament. Boys soccer, they're finished as well. They won the district championship, lost in our regionals on, I believe, last Wednesday, 3-1 to the Tough Melvindale team. Finished second in the SEC and was back-to-back district championships. They've had a pretty good run so far. Boys cross country, second at our county meet, 4th overall in the regional meet. On Saturday, Tyler Noack advanced the states. They take the top 3 teams in the regional to go to the states, missed by 1 place, so it's kind of a tough finish for them. Equestrian team won the district championship. They're again back-to-back championships. Kind of the highlight, I think, of our year so far is our girls cross country. Have never won the SEC, never won a regional advanced. This year they won the SEC outright by a landslide. Turned the rank 7th in the state. We were county, Bersabolski, Huron, and Jackson by the champions. They did win the regionals last week, and they were in the states this Saturday at MIS at 131st state championship. So they're really young too. They have 1 senior, really young team doing a great job. It's fun to watch them around. That's kind of what we have right now. Like I said, we'll have more of an updated list and more complete list when we kind of talk about it later on.
We have 2 girls in the equestrian team, or something, national or something.
So we have 2 that they made it to the regionals. They didn't get out of regionals as far as I know.
Like grand national?
You're talking about something different.
Yeah.
World championships.
Yeah, world champion or something.
Wasn't through the school,
Okay.
but I did know a little bit about that as well.
Any other questions you guys have for me?
All right, moving on to monthly facilities report.
Alright, so, Tom Hawkins, Director of Facilities. For the first thing to go through is the projects we have right now that are going on. The first and obviously the biggest, we want to ask the commission for the board to seek bids for custodial services. So that's going to be one of the things that we discussed tonight. The other project that I'm working on So we're asking the guys to remember when they change out the filter, and you have 19 rooftop units on just this building alone. So you count Compass and North South, and we're asking a lot. So this system would actually allow us to also track costs, and we'd be able to actually look at what one unit is costing us over here, what we're spending on contractors and things like that. So it's a small investment, but it has a really good return. The other one, a couple that we're looking at too, as well as some projects that we're looking as contracts, is the trash removal and the elevator inspection contract. We're looking at those and possibly making either some adjustments or finding somebody else to do that. PM services, same thing, kind of goes with the CMMS system. We need to really look at what we have to do and what we need to be doing for our PMs and being able to track those. So those are the main kind of projects that are going on in facilities. A little bit of an overview. As I'm sure all of you guys know, the custodial service has been kind of a tough road right now. Compass in particular. Appreciate everybody's patience with everything. We're working through that. And what we've done right now is we've hired 3 additional custodians at this point to try to make up a gap that we've lost. Prior to me coming here, I guess there was like 6 people at one point cleaning in the afternoons on Compass, and we're asking 2 people to do the same thing. So we're trying to get there. We put 2 more over there, and we're adding 1 more at high school. So hopefully that'll help out a little bit. All right, HVAC systems. We recently had some training. We put a good amount of money years ago into Grand Valley Automation, and we have this really nice program that runs the vast majority of our HVAC systems in the schools. Problem is we didn't really have a lot of training on it as to how it functions. At one point, we didn't have any type of a schedule in place, so we put it like an occupied schedule, kind of similar to your house. When you're there, you obviously want to be cool or warm, and when you're not there, it's not going to run as hard. And so we got that in place, so that's going to hopefully help with some of our cost savings as far as the electrical bill. And then the other part about that was we had several overrides on the system. So what it does is, like, somebody calls up when your classroom's hot and it's cold, and we don't have the right part. We override the system, and you open up the damper, bring in some fresh air, and that system, then we would leave it, and then it would happen from time to time again. So we had all these overrides, so we had these kind of like patches on the system. So those were all removed, and we're now going to start addressing things as they come in and actually getting things repaired. The favorite is the pool, the Decatron system. So good news is we got our pump and motor that's here, and the plan is for to have that installed this week. We had a contractor in a couple weeks ago. They replaced the pulley system, a belt, and a couple bearings on that. So we're actually going to be able to now kind of see what that's going to actually be able to do, and then start evaluating it from there. Obviously, once that pump goes in, it's going to take some time to figure out any issues that's caused with that being down, as far as the pump, the filters, and things like that. 3 weeks. It's been down about 3 weeks. Schools in particular, boilers are running. The only one that we're having an issue with right now is the boiler at the high school. We have 1 boiler that is down currently. When they filled it up, we found that it was leaking in a couple tubes. So we're looking for some quotes on that as far as retubing those leaking tubes. But the problem is, once we get those tubes out, then we'll be able to actually assess why it was leaking. And it may end up being our chemical treatment program. I'm actually looking for some quotes on that as well. Getting somebody else possibly to come in. Currently use another company. They do them. They come in once a month to test. We based on that test, we feed conversation last week with a gentleman from Floor Care Concepts. It's probably going to be a bigger conversation about the tennis courts, and he has some ideas, so there's going to be a bigger conversation, I'm sure, on that. And so, yeah, so far that's what we got.
Okay, thank you.
The maintenance management system, does that just keep history of what we've done, or does it suggest preventative maintenance as well?
That's not going to suggest, it's just what we put in there.
Okay.
So we'll put, one of the things that's been really great, Mike Smith had put a lot of stuff on spreadsheets, so that takes a lot of the legwork out of things. And so what they'll do is they'll give me their spreadsheet, I upload all that, they take and they upload everything, and we enter what kind of PMs we want on those. Nice thing is, what we can do with that is we can set up like an SOP, a standard operating procedure. So, like, let's say one of the maintenance guys, they get a PM to change or check a rooftop unit. So we're gonna check valves, check contactors, check filters. And he's gonna have actual checklists to go off on.
And then he'll enter that into the computer if he changes a filter, and then you'll have.
And our record is
Right on the
how
record.
much, how much we spend in parts.
Right.
And nice thing it is, like, some of the teachers, or all the teachers, all the classrooms, so if a teacher calls in or writes in, like saying, hey, we have a hot room, she'll be able to, it'll come up like with her email address, it'll come up with her room, and then it'll actually indicate what units and what are used for that room. So they won't necessarily know like what rooftop unit is that, but it'll be tied to that room. And then the nice thing too is we can also use, what's going to be great with Devin's crew, is we can also do the same thing on the IT side. So we can set up the IT and all their projectors and Chromebooks or anything like that that they do on their end for PMs. They can set up their own assets. So when he signs into his own world and he sees all that. He doesn't see the facility side of that.
And all those work tickets that the teachers or administrators put in are all done via email then?
Correct. They'll log into a system similar to Spiceworks. It'll be like a kind of similar platform. Yeah.
So will they be able to get status reports on their?
They will. So they'll know if it's pending. They'll get an approval. So they'll come to me. I'll look at it and approve that, and then I'll give it to one of the maintenance guys. And then once they start working on it, they'll know that it's actually been worked on. And then when it's closed out.
Now, I know you looked at, I think, 3 different vendors to supply this to us with different costs. Have you zeroed in on one then?
I did. I think it's called Hippo. It's a really good system. They're going to set up like, it's similar to our Grand Valley Automation. They'll have a map of our district. We can click on a building. That'll give it a floor plan, and I can see all the assets inside of that. And then it'll also show where all the different work orders are for that building, so I can track the work orders for each building. I can track them by district. I can track costs by each building. I can track costs by vendor. I can track costs by unit. I can track costs in several different ways and run reports for you guys, so you guys can see, if, coming up here and saying, hey, we need a boiler. Well, what was the justification for a boiler? I can give you a justification because we spent X amount of dollars on a boiler that's, spend over 50% of the cost of the boiler. Might be looking at, we need to get a different boiler.
So will this system automatically create a work ticket for scheduled preventive maintenance then, if you put in the?
Correct. Yeah, it's once you put it in, you don't have to think about it. You set them up annual, set monthly, 5 years.
Whatever the asset needs, right?
Correct.
Are there any other schools in the district that are outsourcing their custodial work?
Speaking
I can
of
look that up.
we're looking to get some bids on it so we can do a comparative cost study for contracting it out as opposed to keeping it in-house, right?
Correct.
That's what we're looking at this point.
Okay.
How many custodians, could we get like a list of how many custodians we have per building, how much they make, how much it costs us per year? I have the amount of $800,000 as our projected cost for this coming year, but that doesn't really mean much to me without I don't know what all's in that.
Yep.
I guess it's just people. It's not trash
People,
removal, right?
Supplies. No, it's not trash removal, that's.
Cleaning supplies and humans to clean.
Correct.
So when we toured Compass a couple weeks ago, I noticed, we have a lot of equipment there. I assume we own that.
I believe we
What
have.
kind of equipment
Yep.
do that?
Cleaning
Floor
equipment.
equipment, things like that.
Yeah.
Disinfecting equipment.
I think that I've been thinking about this bid. We already pay our custodial staff, I think, a starting wage of $10 an hour, correct? So I don't know how outsourcing it could possibly be any cheaper considering the minimum wage and the fact that we're gonna have to pay a vendor additional fees on top of that. I think, I'm all for bidding out things when it makes sense, but I don't know how we would possibly save money in this situation. And we're gonna be hiring from the same pool of people that whoever we look at is going to as well. So I think we need to look at better alternatives internally to fix this issue versus outsourcing it.
Well, did you see the other email we got too about, what the pay is at Hudson, for example? I can't believe it's $17 an hour.
I mean,
In Saline, it's, $12.28.
I guess the question comes,
Are we getting
why?
ahead of ourselves or is it the discussion portion?
Yeah, well, we are.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
I'm just making the point that we don't pay very much, so it might be hard to get people.
Why
I
do
think
you think
the-
it'd be a better alternative, I guess?
Just based on years past, if you look at the cost, what we're averaging over the years past is significantly less than what we're paying here.
But what about the quality?
Yeah, I wonder why. What is the difference?
Now that's before me. I've heard through just discussion with different teachers and administrators that it wasn't as good. But,
Even 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't good then either?
Was that Airmark?
Airmark, I believe.
So and, we can of course discuss it another time, but,
Well, it's on for discussion.
Yeah, it's on the discussion.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
We can discuss
So it is.
Yeah, it needs to come up again for discussion, though, doesn't it? I mean, we need a lot more information.
Well, I don't think there's any harm in getting the bids.
No,
And looking at what's offered and doing a
Yeah.
cost comparison.
I don't either, but
No.
if you think about it logically, if we're paying $10 an hour,
And they're paying $10
and
an
they're
hour.
paying $10 an hour, we're gonna pay $15 an hour because they're gonna put a service
They're gonna have to have
on top of
profit,
that.
right.
And
So,
just as a point of reference, so in this sheet that we got from, the first lady that did the
CLC.
CLC program, for their volunteers, they use $20 an hour as an industry standard. So,
And keep in
we're
mind,
paying
I
our
typically
custodians.
pay EduStat. So it's not just paying, it's not like, hey, we just pay $10 an hour here.
Right.
We're paying a third company, some fees in that, so.
There are employees, but they're through EduStat.
Yeah.
They're contracted.
Contract employees,
Right.
through EduStat right now.
So,
so they're not internal employees, they're contracted employees already.
Well,
well,
they're not direct employees. They're internal,
Their
but they're
payroll
contracted.
goes through EduStat.
right.
So
I believe that's correct.
do they determine the wage?
No.
What benefits do they have?
All right, all right. Each employee gets, it's either 2 days of personal time or sick time and 3 of personal time. I don't know which is which. So that's 5, and then they get 5 days of vacation. So right now, when I set this whole thing up, and I've got all the answers that you are asking about in a spreadsheet, that's why I'm here, because it's pretty complicated. But the big thing is you're paying 22 people for 10 days, which they do nothing. So, you look at that and you do that, that's 220 days. You have 0 people here cleaning. You have 187 days of school, I think, isn't it? So that tells you automatically, just looking as I went through this, you need 1 more person just to stay up with the normal staff. So we were at 27 and 26 people when I first came here cleaning. And with the extra person, we'd be at 22. The high school and the middle school will both have 2 people on days which is very satisfactory, I think, for days. And then the high school would have 4, I think we had on afternoons, and or, yeah, 3 on afternoons. And the Compass would wind up with 5 or 6. And then the one guy would be a floater. So, you know, wherever somebody was sick or off that day, or if we had some big project going, we could move them. The big thing that I was focusing on is, where do we gotta be to have a perfect world here now? And that's where we come up with the 22 people. And that should cover us. 22? Part I didn't hear.
You think 22 is enough?
I do. I think it should be very satisfactory. And we've even went through the schools and color-coded the areas, the classrooms they would do, and we could fill in the whole school by doing that. Okay? Obviously, there's gonna be situations where it's gonna be chaos because of shows, you know, like at Christmas, you have the sings, in spring, you have sings and all that. The big thing is, one, we're not paying these people what we should be paying.
Right.
So they're here, they don't have much incentive, and they're blowing out of here anytime somebody makes them an offer. I mean, you're talking. When the other big cost is EduStaff. For the cost of that is 23% of their wage.
Say that again?
Is 23% on top of their wage for EduStaff to process that stuff.
Okay, do we pay health insurance?
They do. There's an option for them to take that or get paid for it. And about half of them are taking it, somewhere in 10, 15 of them.
Now, you mentioned 187 school days.
Yeah.
What about the summers? Do we have crews in that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But I'm looking at, focused on the school year. The summer, if they would take all the vacation in summer, would be great, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but
So-
the discussion was supposed to be on bids, so if we're looking at bids,
Yeah.
we need to know what it's costing us per employee right now compared
I have-
to each of the bids.
I have that all broke down. I have by school, what it's costing you per hour, by employee, what it's costing you an hour for the employees. I just don't have it here. I thought we were over at the other school, and I was going to have my computer, and I don't have it. But, yeah, and I have for each school, individual school and stuff. So the whole exercise right here is nothing more. We'd like to go out and just get bids and see where we're at. Are we good? Are we not? Maybe if it shows we're way below, then maybe you do go outside and do it. And do it that way. But this will tell you how to proceed going forward. And are we in the ballpark? What my goal was to get the snapshot now. Here's the standard, and then we can go outside. And these outside companies, they have the benefit of they're huge. Aramark's huge, so janitorial supplies should be significantly less for them. I mean, even staffing, they have a greater pool to pull from. So if somebody's not here, or they're having trouble, they can bring people from all different locations in to get it taken care of. So there's a lot of advantages being big for them.
Well, people have said we had problems when we had Airmark before, didn't we have them?
Yeah, and you're always gonna. I've had janitorial with Johnson Controls for 27 years. I was there, and this is the nature of the beast. It's always a pain in the rear. And I think you can go to any general manager or whoever of companies, and they're gonna say, yeah. I mean, you're very fortunate if you can get a staff, a big staff, you know, not maybe 3 or 4, but a big staff. And they come in and, man, they're just doing, clicking. You know, it's very unusual. But, I mean, and as I unfold this thing, I'm getting into things like, we are creating POs for Aramark, and instead of creating one PO for what we're gonna pay them all year at an even price each month, they were creating POs every single month to pay them, plus every little thing beyond the contract they did, so like special events. So you may be creating, in a year, 1,000 POs. Well, there's a cost to that for us as a school. And that's the things that just keep opening up as we go, just like the vacation days. I mean, you wouldn't think of it, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, holy mackerel, that's one whole person, and that, you're talking $30,000, $40,000.
Well, do you try to, have more than stagger?
Let me interject here real quick. I just want to thank Todd for his report.
That's all I was asking, though.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Do we have a contract with EduStat?
Yep. There is.
When does that?
I don't know the dates. You'd probably have to ask Nikki how that works. Because that was PESG, and then now it's EduStaff, but I'm sure, I don't know where it all originates.
Can you
What?
forward us the report that you had?
Yeah, it's a big Excel spreadsheet. I tried to put notes in what I did in the calculation, so if it gets confusing, you can always get a hold of me or whatever, we can sit down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have
that
a poll.
also, I think.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think if you could forward it to us, and
I can do that.
after we get the bids for it, we're gonna have to have a long discussion about the bids, what the
Yep.
bids entail, and how that compares to what we have or what we can do.
Yeah, and it should be, it's broke down enough that the scope of work is very clear of what we've got to have.
A lot more discussion to be had. So, we did get a donation from Flatland for Sculpture, Supply and Garden Galleries. And it was called Split Tube Sculpture. And it was a value of $11,500. And that is in the sculpture garden. Correct?
Correct.
So thank you to them for donating that. The other thing we need to discuss is designate Rick Hilderly to act on behalf of the district to sign checks, deposit school funds, sign transfers and investment controls.
Right, this is just part of the peaceful transfer of power. So, and I have some of the abilities that I'll need to have.
Any discussion on it? All right. Okay, we got a couple action items. First one is the peer-to-peer for sixth grade maps class. We heard that presentation in the last board meeting. So, anybody want to make that a motion?
I hereby move to approve the proposed peer-to-peer program to implement it with the sixth grade curriculum as part of the MAPS class effective with the 2019-2020 school year.
Any discussion?
Roll call, Mike?
Aye.
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 Aye. The next item is board resolutions for Illinois Education Policy Guide. And Terry, can you give us, you gave me the brief overview on it, but can you go ahead and Rick?
Right, we got a little feedback from the ISD, and the packet that was presented is designed to serve as a resource packet for legislators outlining the priorities of the county superintendents. So, not that it isn't for public consumption, but it's specifically designed for legislators to have materials to act on our behalf specifically. So, boards in the county are being asked to support that.
I hereby move to approve the resolution in support of the Illinois County Education Policy Guide as provided by the Illinois County Superintendent's Association, and further provides its endorsement of and for the legislative, financial, and policy considerations contained therein.
Support.
Any discussion?
Roll call, Mike?
Aye.
I hereby move to accept with thanks the Split 2 sculpture from Flatlanders Art Galleries valued at $11,500 for the sculpture garden at Tecumseh High School.
Support.
Any discussion? I would like to say one thing. I believe Flatliners is in Blissfield, so this is a Lenawee County organization giving back to our school, so
That's very awesome.
thank you for that. So.
Roll call, Mike.
Aye.
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 Aye. And next action item is Superintendent Richard W. Hilderly to act on behalf of the board and district.
I'll make the motion. I hereby move to authorize Richard W. Hilderly, Superintendent of Schools, to act on behalf of the school board, of the board and district, and be appointed as a primary signer on all checks written by Tecumseh Public Schools, and deposit school funds in established depositories, and to make investments of available monies from the several funds of the district and transfer monies as needed.
Support.
Any discussion?
Roll call, Mike.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, superintendent's report. Board committee.
Right, thank you.
Consent agenda.
Oh,
One more.
where's that?
It's on the next page.
Oh, it's there.
In my update to you on Friday, I explained a couple of things. In terms of the board committee structure and focus, just like to take a short pause on that to make sure that the structure of those committees is in line with board policy and that they're going to be focused on some specific purposes that will move the district forward. Right now, kind of job one for me is to focus on the realignment of buildings. And then I think we can get the committees focused on what's going to need to take place for that to happen well and into the future. So I'll get back to you relatively soon with my advice on that and how those things can move forward. I've attended one of the meetings, which all of the discussion and all the input that goes into it is really valuable for the district. Just want to make sure that it's coordinated and focused and again, in line with the board's policy, so that it's set up correctly. And then in terms of district operations, when I spoke with teachers this week at their in-service training on Friday, one of the questions I had given to me was, what's my current short-term goals? And I had two answers to that. First of all, to focus on a process to develop a plan for reconfiguration, and then also add some help to for me to begin to make decisions. I look at that help in at least the short run in terms of an operations manager who can focus on details related to the non-instructional management of the district, and that will allow me to focus my time on the people, the curriculum, the instruction, and oversee that development of a good plan for the restructuring of the district. So I will keep you posted on how that plan evolves. I've run it by a couple of board members. We've had some discussion. I'll provide that job description to the full board after this meeting so that you can see where our thinking is at. And then hopefully in November, begin that position. It'll definitely help me to have somebody work in the background on some of the fine details while I do some of the work for curriculum and instruction and restructuring of the district. And then lastly, just really a big thank you to the staff. Had such a nice day last Monday. Cindy got to be my handler for the day, and we did a tour of the district, all 6 buildings, really warm welcomes from everyone, and lots of smiles and positive feeling about things moving forward. So big thank you to the district. And then, as I said, it was kind of nice timing to come in with that in-service training, because I was also able to get in 4 locations for some larger group discussions, just as a self-introduction and talk about what I think the strength of the district is. And right now, the strength of the district is in the teaching staff. And I wanted to remind them of that this is still a really strong place for families to provide a great experience for their young people. It's because of the people who do that work in the classroom. So thank you to everyone. It was a great first week, and thanks to the board for your support as well.
Thank you. Any questions for?
Yeah, I have a question. I have a committee meeting scheduled for next Monday. Do we need to delay that?
Yeah, I think right now, just delay that. If you have questions or things that you really want us to try to get at, send those questions through President Simpson. He'll talk to me about it, and we'll try to get you some information. All right? Thank you.
All right. On the consent agenda. May I have a motion for the consent agenda?
I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes minutes from the regular board meetings of October 28th, 2019, and minutes from the special board meetings of September 27th, 2019, and October 7th, 2019.
Support. Any discussion?
Roll call, Mike.
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, next board meeting is November 11th at the board annex. Good news, discussion, reports, monthly finance report, annual summer tax resolution, and action items will be develop RFP and seek bids for custodial services. Anything anybody else would like to see in there at all?
Are we gonna have information on the ends by then?
Yeah, we should be able to give you some advice on what to do about that. She knows that we want to try to get it done before the winter sports season, so we should have that information for you.
Do we own any vehicles now? We do not?
Not of that sort.
Just from the maintenance department, I think.
Right.
Just truck.
We do have one delivery van that does some of the deliveries internally in the district, but we don't need people with it.
I think this bid for custodial services contract needs to be moved to a discussion item, not an action item.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, definitely.
All right, and public comment. This brings us to our second public comment portion of the meeting. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, so if you have something to come up, please come on up and state your name and what you want to say.
Tricia Howard, Lisa Scher. On behalf of Compass Learning Center, we just want to thank the board for the approval of the peer-to-peer for our 6th grade students. It's going to be amazing, and we can't wait to share out what we have going on. So thank you. Thank you very much. We're excited to get started.
You look excited by those grades.
I know.
We look
That's
forward
us.
to hearing how it goes.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Megan McElmore. I have 3 kids in the district. Well, not technically, they are students here, but unfortunately, as I've been pointed out, I don't actually pay taxes in this city, so it doesn't necessarily mean as much. But I do have I have a 5-year-old over in South. I have a 7th grader in West, and I have a freshman here in the high school. I really came here to tell you amazing things and how impressed I was. But I am so, with your administration here, but I am so unimpressed with this meeting that I completely lost my mind during it. The fact that 2 years later, we're now talking about restructuring buildings after the temper tantrums that were thrown for the way that the staff has just gotten their footing. They've just literally gotten the places that they are and where they're at, and we're gonna rip a rug out of them for what? For whose ego are we doing this? Or is there really like a cost benefit to it? Because I'm really just confused right now why in 2 years of all this complaining that I've heard, we're still talking about the same things as far as tardies go and everything else. And it blows my mind that we're still just focusing on these things when I just can't even believe that we're talking about restructuring buildings again. This is ridiculous. I am here to tell you how great your administration is, and the biggest strength is not just your teachers in this, Mr. Hilderly, like I completely agree with you, but it is your administration, because they aren't just necessarily on the ground, but they are on the ground with the people who are like in the classrooms every single day, and they are here, sitting here in meetings for you guys when you're holding 5 or 6 or 7 of them a month, and taking up their time and making that. I have had the most amazing experiences with at least 3 of the ladies here. Trisha's always been amazing. I appreciate her in Compass, I always have. Ms. DeLand is incredible at South. She is one of probably the best things that happened since Miss Melanie got moved over to back over to West. They are amazing people, and they really are caring about our kids, and that's the most important thing. Just this past week, Melanie and I had a conversation. There was an altercation with my son. I'm actually the parent that says, hey, what did he do wrong? And in this one instance, he didn't. And she was incredible on how she handled it. She has amazing skills when it comes to management. She has amazing skills when it comes to being able to empathize with an upset parent. She is doing her job to 110% in my experience of what I've done. And this district is as strong as its teachers, but it is 100% as strong as its administrators. And every issue I've had, I have always been met with great administrators who have helped to solve the problem, figure out what's going on, and for us to move forward. So I would hope that they are getting the respect that they all deserve, because they are working really hard in making you guys look good. Thank you.
I agree with you. Thanks for calling me out on that. It is a great team. Absolutely. Thank you.
Bill Swift, Tecumseh, Michigan. I just wanted to briefly speak about 2 things. One thing, vacation days for people, sick days for people that are working for us. I don't begrudge them those days. In fact, I want to make sure that they have a goodly number of them, and I don't mind paying for them. Likewise, I would like them to have benefits such that if they get sick, or if one of their family members gets sick, that they can maybe go to the doctor and have some coverage. I don't think that there is too much of a mystery about what it takes to hire and maintain a workforce of people who do work that isn't as valued by society as, say, other people who work in the school system. And it's actually quite a simple formula. You pay people fairly well, you provide them with some decent benefits, and then you treat them decently, like decent human beings, and you say, oh, you're sick? Well, I sure hope you get better. You enjoy that sick day. I think that goes a great way towards keeping people maybe would want to work for you. As to Aramark itself, as a company that we might think about contracting with, having dealings with, giving them a single dime of my taxpayer dollars, well, that ruffles my feathers. I'm less than gruntled in that situation, because they're a slimy, scummy organization that treats the people that work for them like scum. And if they happen to have any kind of responsibility towards the people that they're having dealings with, they've got a track record of being just the most awful people corporation you could ever possibly want to have any dealings with. So that's all I've got to say about what we might do as far as custodial staff. I do have a little bit of a concern about the rush that's been made as far as mathematics here at Tecumseh Public Schools. I found the presentation to be very encouraging. The enthusiasm is wonderful. This is great. I'm very happy about this. However, I have heard, at least from one parent, who has expressed to me concerns about their different learning style student being left behind. And Tecumseh has always done a really good job educating students who are excelling, and will continue to do that job well, I have no doubt. Some of the changes that had been made that have gone away, which it's fine, we're moving forward, we're going to make some different changes, we're going to go a different way, that's fine. I just want everybody to be thinking about Mr. Ramsell is an excellent teacher. If I had him for high school, I would love to have him for my math teacher because I know the style of education that worked for me, he would be an excellent teacher. No question about it. I have some deep concerns about students who are not going to be going to college to be teaching or learning calculus or work in aerospace or who knows what kinds of things that they might do. But they're not going to have that advanced mathematics worried about getting left behind. Thank you very much.
I just have a brief question on Dr. Landstrom. I was just wondering when the initial student count numbers will be out. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was gonna report on that tonight and forgot to write it down. I know that the board had budgeted for a loss of about 125 students. It looks like we will only be down about 35 students. So the number is good there in terms of the projected budget. I don't want to lose any kids. So our goal is to improve that number. But from the number that was budgeted at the beginning of the year to where we are right now, the number is positive.
That number almost correlates to the graduating class, the difference between the graduating class and the kindergarten coming in. It's almost that.
Griff, we graduated 235, is that about right? What was our things on your kindergarten numbers, new registration at kindergarten, do you know off the top of our head?
Slightly under 200, just under 200.
So we were 2,764, I believe, last year, so we're like 2,730 now. Is that correct?
That sounds correct, yeah. I talked about it with Nikki today, and the number we talked about was down about 35 students from last year's fall count.
Thanks, Sean.
You guys, I'll throw one thing out I forgot. We have a choir concert at 7 o'clock tomorrow night and a choir concert Wednesday night at 7 o'clock over at the auditorium. Yeah, so high school is putting some of our choirs up with some of the younger kids. So on Tuesday night, our other high school choirs with some of the younger kids on Wednesday night. So orchestra and band did a fabulous job the last 2 weeks prior to that. So just let you know.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to board member comment discussion. Any comments or discussion?
So, as you administrators are well aware, because you've been here for all the meetings, I thank you pretty much every week, and I will continue to do so. You guys are doing amazing work. I'm very excited that you've got a leader that is going to continue that drive forward. Of course, we know the teachers are amazing here, and Tecumseh is going to continue to be the amazing district it has always been.
I'll throw out there that I am happy to hear that the changes in our student head count seems to be an organic difference between our graduating students out and our incoming kindergarten. That is very good news. I'm happy to hear that, and the budget's happy to hear it also.
Oh, go ahead.
You guys have to?
Well, the state also kicked in an additional $240
Yes.
per kid, and we only budgeted $150, so we're gonna be.
That's gonna help our budget.
That's gonna help too, so.
And speaking to the custodial bids and contracts we're looking at, one thing that from my personal seat here, I am not willing to compromise is the quality of work done. We're on an improvement with that. I'm not saying it's perfect. We are on an improvement, hopefully. I want to see that continue to improve, so I don't want to save a quarter to cost ourselves $1 in the quality of work. And I'm not really interested in saving just a little bit of money if it means that we're not treating the people like we should, which is a good point. When you contract things out, in order to save money, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're paying people an appropriate salary and you're treating them fairly, you contract it out, if there's money to be saved, it's probably because they're no longer getting treated fairly, and they may not be getting what they should. And I don't really see the need to line other people's pockets just so we can save a couple pennies and treat people bad. So it has to be a pretty compelling argument for me personally before we do contract any services out.
I agree totally with that. This was just an exercise to see, here's where we are today. If we go
And we
outside,
absolutely should.
what? It's a due diligence
It's a
thing,
due
nothing
diligence,
else.
that's our job to make sure
And
that
that's
we-
all I'm looking at, and that's why we want to get some outside costs.
When the board brought back the custodial into the system 3 years ago, it was always their intention to review and to see if the savings was there, and if the savings was significant, and if the quality of work was where we wanted it. So you're right on track with doing a review of that sort of thing.
Right, and I'd like to look at the difference between what we're doing right now, obviously, they're still not employees of TPS, so what would that look like if they were employees as well? So it's kind of like there's a third option, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about the current EDU staff contract and what that means to us.
So we saw that. If we own all that equipment, it just.
I think Mike probably did, Rick and.
Yeah. And I've went through it with Nishi too already.
Right.
So we just kind of finished up late last week.
Yeah.
So hadn't really got with Rick, with him just coming in and reviewed it to make sure everybody understands. I just didn't want to throw it at you and you're like, well, what is this guy doing? Where'd all this come from? Because it is quite a lengthy spreadsheet.
I appreciate you already put into it.
And we really haven't begrudged anybody of sick days or vacation. They deserve it, believe me. These
Yeah, we
people are
just
the
have to
hardest
understand.
working people that you'll find.
I
And
think-
they're dedicated to a fault almost.
Well, I think what you were saying was kind of taken out of context, because what you're really saying is,
Right.
you got this many people, this many hours of
Exactly.
vacation, you gotta hire someone to
Yep.
fill that void when people are taking vacation.
Yep. And I think this exercise will show us, okay, yeah, we really aren't paying these guys what we should do. And that may be a big key right there.
Yep.
You know, tell us what to do rather than, oh, this is what I think. I'd
Right.
rather have the numbers tell me what to do.
Yeah, and I'd also like to know how Tom's talking about that nice system where you can track all your repairs and preventative maintenance and stuff. I was wondering if there's a similar system or if that one can do supplies as well and track our costs and our cleaning equipment.
Yeah. We already basically have that because we have one contractor for that. Before, we were going around and Carly was going around to all the schools 2 or 3 times a week, getting supplies, ordering them, and now we don't do any of that. We implemented a stock area at our maintenance facility. We just determined, here's your levels we want to maintain. We put it all back on the contractor. You come in once a week and check that stock and make sure it's full for us to go. And now it's just a matter of my team leaders once a week go around to each of the schools and say, what do you need? Put us in a work order to Tom. The next morning, the dispatcher, Rick Heft, he takes all that stuff right to him, and it's just so much more streamlined and stuff now. And so your answer, we have one contractor for the most part that we have all that information from.
Our math teachers left already, but I sat in on that meeting with
I
the
did
math
too.
teachers, and it's really nice to see that they've been able to take those concepts that they came up with in that meeting and bring them to fruition here with the students. And one of the big pieces of it was that ALEX program. And maybe everybody didn't understand that program, but it's very intuitive, and it continues to work with each student individually and customize a program for that student where they have deficiencies, and really helps them out more than they've ever had before. So it's a great program.
And it lets the teacher know the deficiency, so they can hone in right on with that student what your deficiencies are and help them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a great program.
Any other comments? favor?